Our service this morning will be a hybrid one, part Sunday service creation and part sermon from the UUA. The binding theme is love. Because today is close to Valentine's Day, and because in the past we often celebrated it with the Northampton Gay Men's Chorus singing to us and with us. So perhaps the wonderful spirit of love that they gave us will spark again with the music from them. They never recorded anything, so we had to find music from other gay men's choruses. Fran Plummer was our choir director then, and she created amazing services with the men who were lively, fun, and gave personal testimonials. It packed the house. Homophobia and discrimination was much more prominent then, and the men found strength in making music together and being together, just as we find strength in being together. Now, gay marriages are legal, and congregations such as us have become welcoming congregations and display the rainbow flag. At this time, we'll light a chalice, and I invite you to light a candle, chalice, or lamp wherever you are too. So the sermon today is part of a UUA service titled Side with Love. The speakers are the Reverends Ali K.C. Bell and Anya Samanier Michael. We will go right to that part of their longer sermon and just hear what they have to say.
It's great. I'm learning from you, just watching how you do it.
Don't stop till you find it. There is more love somewhere. I'm going to keep on until I find it. There is more love somewhere. The meaning, some would argue, is almost the same. Elder Henry sang, "Don't stop until you find it." It's the way I learned the song in my youth, in the churches that I attended. I'm going to keep on until I find it. That's the way I learned the song at Unitarian Universalist congregations. The message, though, is very clear. There is more love somewhere. We must continue on until we find that love, because there is more love somewhere. It is not here, it is somewhere, and we must keep on. We must not give up. We must not give in. We must continue until we find it. It kind of reminds me of this tweet I saw by Joel Leon. He writes, "I never saw my mother walk on water, but I saw her wait for the bus in the snow to pay the rent." We define holy differently. And as a hospital chaplain resident, I have lots of time to think about what is holy and what is love. One of my favorite daily duties is joining my voice, thoughts, prayers, and intentions with those of my chaplain colleagues all over the world as we read the prayer requests that have accumulated in the prayer boxes stationed around the hospital from the night before. Some of these requests come from the same people, and we find ourselves transported to them in our daily conversation of lament and thanksgiving, while others are often scribbled and shoved into the box in hopes that something or someone can slow it down. or make it stop. Something can shield them from impending doom, as if they are hoping that we chaplains have been equipped with a sort of prayer shield or maybe a love shield that can shield them and theirs from it. And as I make my rounds, I hear people searching for the holy in their hospital rooms when they plead for a cure for what afflicts them. And sometimes I hear people utter a prayer for the holy, for intervention, for help, right before they receive the news of a loved one's death. I see people experience a heaping portion of the holy as they come through horrendous accidents, astonished when they find that they are only a little worse for the wear. And of course, in those moments, everyone seems pretty clear that there's some type of something holy or big that just happened. And it is easy to see that something is holy when it defies what we think of as possible. However, love is holy. It is a holy act that occurs every day. It happens in ordinary encounters between strangers, between colleagues, between families and friends. And not just the romantic love of fairy tales, though there is something special and beautiful and holy in every love and every ever after. But I'm talking about the love that informs, that acts, that empowers, that invites. Love that encourages us to act for the betterment of the interdependent web of all.
Love is an action, says the Reverend Ali Casey Bell, and he means it. Is it a perfect action? Is it the only right action? Will it fix everything that's broken? No, love doesn't show up that way. Chaplains know that. Reverend Ali knows that love does not show up in perfection, but in presence. And love is an action that is reciprocated indefinitely and without ending. Because we are imperfect and mortal, but our love is forever. That great-great-grandmother who held me once, the one I don't remember, save for the light-soaked sepia photo, I feel the love from her arthritic hands on my back. Even now, when I conjure that image, it is the same love that flows through my imperfect hands when I reach out with wonder and presence, without ending. Abraham Joshua Heschel, whose love, whose wonder, and whose presence, whose faith and history drew him to the work of the civil rights struggle with Reverend Dr. King. Heschel committed to King and to civil rights because that work for liberation was grounded in what he understood as the Hebrew scriptures that traced the exodus from Egypt, drawing attention all the while to the imperfection of the liberator, to the fear and the trembling of Moses, and to the trepidatious backsliding of the Israelites. Heschel committed to the work of liberation, knowing that no step, no action, none was perfect, but that every action on the side of liberation, every act of presence was itself a prayer, a brush with the holy, and love incarnate. I draw closest to Heschel's theology when I remember his testimony about our ego. He laughs at the way we mere humans think that we are the ones seeking the holy, but all the while it is the holy that is seeking us, that is waiting for us, present to us, imperfect us, vow-breaking, mess-making us. And all we need to do is, thank you, Heschel, all we need to do is allow ourselves to be found. My colleague was found by a pumpkin. Found by a pumpkin at one of the most powerful protest marches I've ever been on. We were rounding the streets of Edgewood, New Jersey, days after an unlawful, unjust, injurious arrest of Black Lives Matter leaders. We'd been marching to re-hallow the streets, to assert that no one would turn those leaders round. And my colleague was stopped by a person who presented her with a pumpkin. This is miles into the walk, and there was at least a mile to go, and pumpkins, they're heavy. But this pumpkin said, "Black Lives Matter," painted by a child's hand. It was the most improbable, imperfect gift. And that pumpkin was love overflowing. It was everything that you don't want to carry. But it was love's presence incarnate. We had been found by the holy, found by a pumpkin, imperfect offering, waiting for us, our imperfect selves, love without ending.
But what if we only had 30 days to love, or lament, or rebuild? What if we only had 30 days to love the world into the place that we know it could be? Now that seems like a tall order. It seems a bit overwhelming to consider even. In our Time for All Ages, we talked about how loving can be something that starts small and grows bigger. We talked about how loving is something that might even start at home. We talked about how loving is something we must do as humans. And that feels about right to me. And I don't know about you, but after recently moving to a new city, I can feel that in my bones. But how do I even begin to connect to places to make a difference? I don't know. You see, I often get caught up in my own stuff of looking too uninformed, or even worse, being too needy. I often feel really excited about finding a connection in my local community and finding a way to get back into community, or finding a way to make the ache stop through action. You know the ache, right? That feeling when you read, listen, watch the news, and you are just immersed in the vastness of all that is unjust, all that is wrong, all that needs people to care, people who desire to bring forth change and to create change. Yet there often seems to not be enough resources, people, not enough care, not enough love. That pernicious cynicism can creep in and act as an immobilizer to my very real desire to act. Does that happen to you? In All About Love by Bell Hooks, she speaks of this cynicism as the great mask of the disappointed and betrayed heart. And when I read that, wow, it hit me so hard. Because boy, friends, I can feel that And if we know anything, we know that as a country, we have all been betrayed by democracy, by the way we were founded as a country, by the way this country was set up at all. We know, for honest and for true, we have yet to have an election where all the people who should have had the right to vote have been able to cast a ballot to vote. We know that some voting districts are rigged to make sure that the right people win. We know this already. Yet we also know that in order to move our country to a place where there's a hope for fairness in our democratic process, we must act together. We have to move beyond our discomfort and connect. And now is the time to act. So, whether your aim is to reform the system, or whether your aim is to tear it down and start it over, there is a place for you in this cacophony of loving witness. The decision to side with justice in all of its forms is loving and holy. The decision to side with justice in all of its forms is loving and holy. We have to. And Bell Hooks invites us, she says, to begin by always thinking of love as an action rather than a feeling, she explains, is one way in which anyone using the word in this manner can automatically assume accountability and responsibility. Imagine an accountable and responsible way of loving. We are often, she continues to say, taught we have no control over our feelings, yet most of us accept that we choose our actions, that, she says, intention and will inform what we do. We also accept that our actions have consequences. And she's right. So, with that framework in mind, if we only had 30 days to love, we would have just enough time to make a real connection, just enough time to act, just enough time to look too eager, to be too cynical, to get disappointed, and to remember that our actions have consequences and we are accountable for them.
That was amazing. Reverend Bell really, love is action. That was incredible. It's what we heard is part of a larger sermon that we couldn't find at first. Elliot Genius found it yesterday afternoon. So that's why we chose not to do the full service. It was going to be way, way too long anyhow for us. So instead, I thought maybe it would be wonderful to celebrate Valentine's Day as well as Black History Month. His sermon was a call to action. Each month, we split our Sunday collection plate 50-50 with an organization selected by the dedicated offering committee. Ann Perkins, who's a member of that committee, will introduce Adrian Wallace, who will tell us more about the DO recipient for February, which is a new school called 80 Acres. So, Ann.
Adrian is a racial justice advocate, a math teacher, an experienced school leader, and soon a lawyer. Roll Tide. Congratulations. Adrienne has led school integration and school development projects in the United States and in Latin America. She also developed social justice curriculum. Seriously, you should check out Beyonce Algebra. It's amazing. And 92% of students who took it aced a college level algebra final. Adrienne is the daughter of a teacher and a therapist, so she values the twin inputs of high quality education and high quality mental health care. She started 80 Acres to provide a safe place for Black children in the Valley, rooted in abolition and in traditional Black cultural practices. Welcome, Adrienne.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all having me this morning. Blessed morning to almost afternoon to everybody. I am really grateful to have this opportunity to share a little bit more about 80 Acres. So like Anne said, it's a small school, it's a private school. Operates really through a collective model and is designed to give Black children a safe space. As James Baldwin said, education is indoctrination if you're white and subjugation if you're Black. And schools in the Valley just don't sufficiently support the needs and challenges and aren't rooted in the cultural practices that we believe Black children need to not only be successful, but just to develop a sense of self, to grow, to feel passionate about what their interests are, to self-advocate through kindergarten, through before kindergarten, all the way up. Right now, we're able to offer up until 6th grade. So we try also to develop community amongst adults, and we try to take burdens away from Black parents when we can. So because of your support and other donations, we actually don't charge tuition. We've been fortunate enough to be well-funded enough to not have to do that initially. And we provide all the other things. So you can't see me, it's blurred now, but behind me, there's just a snack cabinet of healthy snacks where children can go and get something to nourish them anytime they need throughout the day. We have smoothie makers so that if you're, if you want to have a berry smoothie in the middle of the day, that's something you can do. More than that, we offer individualized learning where each student has an opportunity to identify a project. So one of our students loves werewolves. So he gets to build a werewolf sculpture, learn about the history of werewolves, and we integrate reading, music education, art through the perspective of what his interest is. And already we've seen such growth, such ownership of learning, and had kids say like, I actually want to sit down and learn this math thing because it's going to help me do really well with my project on some video game thing that I don't understand, but they want to connect that to their actual academic learning. And we provide lots of opportunities to put your hands in the earth. I mean, it's frozen now, but being connected with the earth, understanding how things grow is part of how we understand how we grow also. So we are a farm school. A little bit of the farm is on pause because obviously it's so cold, but we're growing lavender and we're growing lots of herbs that we use in our cooking indoors right now. And we look forward to being able to bring that outdoors. And we look forward to any gardeners or any talented farmers. We'd love to have you share your skills with us. So we are just really excited to have the opportunity to have launched with such community love and support. We are open to accepting all sorts of spoken blessings, lightings of candles, all of that sort of welcomes the work that we're trying to do further into the space. So I know there's a million other things I could say about how wonderful our students are. They're just amazing little human beings. I say that even though some of them are taller than me, which isn't a great accomplishment. I'm just over 5 feet, but super, super excited to have the opportunity to be in space with them. We're in a home and it feels like a home. It feels like a family. There's a lot of love each day. There's a lot of learning each day. There's a lot of opportunities for children to lead their own learning and to ask really critical questions. And as many of you know, there's lots of attacks on education, even just saying very simple, true facts about racial history in this country right now. And we're really lucky to not have to ever worry about that. We can always tell Black children the truth here. We can expose them to what happened before the bad things. We can expose them to their traditional practices and knowledge and give them the opportunity to think about what they might have been had some of those things not happen, and then try those hats on. So we're really excited to not have to even be part of the CRT debate and just be able to tell the truth here. We again are so grateful for community support, community uplifting, and in the spring, if you have any gardening, planting, or any other farming advice, or you just want to dig your hands in the dirt with us, that's something that we'd love to have you for. So again, thank you so much for being in partnership with us. We're so glad to not have to charge tuition, to not have to have that be another burden for Black families and caregivers, and just to have children be happy, learning, joyful, and free. So thank you again.
So Karen is going to extinguish this flame. But as we do this, we're not going to extinguish the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are found again. I want to thank our collaborators today, Karen Mack as greeter, pastoral care with Fran Plummer, Ann Perkins and Andrew and Wallace for dedicated offering, and our genius, Elliot Kelly, as Zoom master. We wouldn't have been able to do this show today without you. Finally, this service and all lay-led services at the UUSA are possible because of the efforts of the Sunday Service Committee. If you're interested in participating in a future service or have suggestions for a speaker, or if you want feedback, give me feedback on today's service, please reach out to either one of the co-chairs, John Gerber or myself, Carolyn Holstein. So now our benediction. Go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere you may go.